Hey guys. Welcome to Secrets Behind the Stars. All the details are in our video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share our video before we dive in. Thank you so much. The buzz machine is roaring again, and this time the spotlight is fixed on a couple whose names always stir conversation. The entertainment world has been jolted by the sudden appearance of an old love letter that peels back the curtain on the private world of Ebru and Akın Akinozu. It's a relic from years ago, passed quietly among a few close friends, and now resurfacing with a weight that no one expected. The letter reveals confessions many believed they would never hear, exposing a vulnerability that clashes with the steel armor of celebrity. Ebru's voice spills across the page, unfiltered and startling in its precision, tracing the ache and electricity that defined her bond with Akın. In it, she doesn't perform. She doesn't pose. She tells a story from her heart to those who saw her up close and who, for a long time, kept this secret sealed. The most arresting moment is a line that hangs like a storm cloud over the rest. She writes that she finally understood who Akın truly was, and that realization left a mark she could not ignore. Those words are not just an indictment of a season in their love story, they are a window into the struggle and tenderness that lived side by side when no cameras were rolling. As soon as the letter surfaced, the internet erupted. The comments arrived in waves, some stunned into silence, others racing to defend Ebru's honesty, with many more pausing in anticipation, wondering how Akın might respond. What started as a whisper in private circles gained momentum until it became a roar that rolled across timelines and search feeds. With every hour, the letter gained another layer of meaning. People remembered interviews. Fans revisited red carpet looks and on-set moments, scanning them for clues they had missed the first time. It was as if the past had suddenly shifted under everyone's feet, reframing moments that used to seem harmless and now appeared charged with hidden signals. And yet, beyond the frenzy and the endless list of hot takes, what the letter truly reveals is a side of Ebru many thought they understood but did not fully grasp. Between her respectful composure in public and the control she exhibits in her craft, there is a beating heart that has loved intensely and questioned itself often. The letter moves like a confession to a friend, a document that is neither a press release nor an accusation. It's raw emotion written during a period when her feelings were still finding form, a time when affection and doubt walked together. There are passages in which she admires Akın's quiet strength and the charisma he carries effortlessly. And there are parts, just as crucial, where she expresses the confusion she felt when the lines between the person she adored and the persona seen by millions started to blur. She speaks of long nights on the phone after exhausting days, of messages saved and reread. She remembers the way he laughed at odd hours, the way his eyes narrowed when a topic cut too close to the bone, and the way he could go silent for stretches that felt like wandering through endless rooms with no doors. The letter acknowledges that the love she gave was fierce, but it wasn't blind. She knew when the temperature in the room changed. She knew when the easy intimacy turned into something brittle. There is a memory of a disagreement that opened a fracture. Maybe it wasn't a grand betrayal or a public spectacle, but rather a collection of small moments, missed calls, half-answers, postponed plans, that, pieced together, formed a portrait she wished she didn't recognize. And in the most vulnerable portion, she writes that the moment she saw him clearly, the image didn't match the story she had written in her head. That realization, she says, cut deep, because it forced her to accept both how much she had given and how carefully she would need to guard what remained of herself. With every sentence, the letter intensifies, without theatrics, without gloss, only truth. It hints at the fragility and volatility that can define love when two powerful personalities orbit one another under lights that never dim. And it reminds us that behind carefully curated images are people who still stumble in the dark. As the letter made the rounds, fans channeled their emotions into messages that flooded Ebru's accounts: resilience, empathy, and gratitude for her openness. Others began writing threads about Akın's likely perspective, tracing moments in his career and demeanor that, to them, revealed a man divided between privacy and passion. The letter doesn't destroy that mystery, it deepens it. If anything, it raises questions about how fame accelerates what couples go through in private, complicating what would already be complicated for anyone. Entertainment reporters immediately pivoted toward predictions. Some suggested that this letter is merely the prologue to a larger reveal, that more pages might exist, or more memories might find their way to daylight. Insiders hinted that the timeline of the relationship was more layered than the public knew, that certain choices made under pressure came from a place neither malicious nor pure, but human. Those whispers gained traction as commentators dissected every phrase, every comma, searching for the fault lines. Yet it's not a letter of blame, it's a letter of reckoning. It reads like a person stepping out of a story they told themselves and daring to say out loud that the story had become too heavy to carry in silence. There's a sequence where Ebru praises the kindness she saw in Akın, the gentleman who opened doors and listened carefully, who could be disarmingly tender and then, on tough days, retreat into himself so completely that nothing could reach him. She writes about a look he gave her once, on a quiet morning when neither of them had anywhere else to be, a look that told her he was trying. And she adored that. But later, when the schedule turned brutal and their names became headlines again, that softness hardened. She began to wonder whether she was trying to love the man in front of her or the version of him she had crafted out of hopes and roles and hungry imagination. That uncertainty carved a path through every conversation. It turned simple questions into sparring matches. It made small silences feel like rooms filling with fog. The letter doesn't pretend that she was flawless. She admits to impatience. She confesses to jealousy of innocuous things. She writes that the weight of expectation, to be graceful, to be strong, to be resilient, sometimes made her want to vanish. She acknowledges that she could switch from calm to sharp in a heartbeat when she felt unseen. But she also insists that when she loved, she did not ration it, and that, for a time, it felt like the two of them were unbreakable. Then came the moment of recognition. The person she thought she could map with her eyes closed had corners she didn't know, and some of those corners were sharpened by ambition, fear, and an instinct to protect his own heart before anyone else's. In the days since the letter leaked, the story has saturated the cultural conversation. Editorials ask whether letters like this, written in a private language to trusted ears, should belong to the public at all. Fans trade theories with a heat that suggests they see their own history reflected in these pages. The letter has become an object of fascination precisely because it breaks the illusion that public figures exist in a separate category of emotional weather. It shows a woman at the height of her career naming the exact moment her dreams staggered under the weight of reality. It shows a man, too, though he didn't write it, caught between the man he is and the man the world expects him to be. And it leaves room for compassion, because even the hard sentences never stop acknowledging the good she witnessed and the tenderness that, at times, felt like home. The result is a paradox, a private thought made public, a wound that somehow heals by being seen. The letter has climbed trending lists and dominated comment sections because it moves differently than the usual cycle of rumors and half-truths. It gives the raw texture of memory. It invites people to revisit the timeline of Ebru and Akın with kinder eyes, with more attention to the unspoken, with an understanding that two actors who mastered fiction could still be baffled by the plot of their own lives. This is not a definitive account, it's one person's diary of a chapter that mattered. But it's enough to change the color of the story everyone thought they knew. What comes next? That's the question pressing at the edges of every discussion. Some say Ebru will address the letter directly, sharing the context of how it was written and why it came from a younger, more uncertain version of herself. Others predict that Akın might break his usual reserve to offer a quiet, measured reflection rather than a denial or a confrontation. The cynics insist that there must be a second document or a conversation recorded somewhere. The romantics hope that time softened whatever was once sharp. But regardless of what surfaces, the emotional truth has already landed. Great love, especially under the harsh light of fame, asks for more than chemistry. It demands timing, patience, honesty, and the courage to see the person you love as they are, not as you need them to be. Many now reread Ebru's words and point to how she describes her younger self learning to speak up without breaking, and learning to hear the difference between silence and indifference. They note how she holds space for the version of Akın who adored her and the version who withdrew. They feel the ache of her realization because it echoes the moment so many people recognize in their own lives, that love can be unforgettable and still not be sustainable. Her letter crystallizes that truth without cruelty. She does not drag his name. She does not rehearse a list of grievances. She tells the story of a woman waking up to the contours of her partner's complexity, of her own, and deciding that her heart deserved to be tended with greater care. It's this blend of vulnerability and restraint that has placed the letter at the center of pop culture this week. It slips past defensiveness and lands where people keep their unspoken feelings. It has already inspired think pieces, reaction videos, and earnest threads from fans who feel moved to confess their own turning points. It has also sparked speculation that an even fuller account of that era might emerge: photos, notes, or messages that fill in the weeks and days around the moment she understood him differently. Whether or not that happens, the document will keep echoing, because it doesn't rely on scandal to matter. It relies on recognition. For now, all eyes are back on Ebru and Akın. They became icons to millions for the roles they played and the magic they created together, and they became a mystery for the life they kept guarded. This letter tilts the balance. It reveals the softness hidden behind the poise, the doubt behind the certainty, the humanity behind the mythology. And as the noise builds, as everyone waits for someone to say the next definitive thing, the letter sits quietly, telling us everything essential: that love can be luminous and still cast shadows, that people can be kind and complicated at once, and that sometimes the bravest act is putting the truth on paper when no one is watching. This brings us to the end of our video. If you enjoyed our video, please subscribe to Secrets Behind the Stars and share it. Goodbye.